Luke, first of all, a welcome back to Gateshead. Obviously, it's been a long time since you were here the first time around, but how pleasing is it to get things sorted, especially ahead of the start of the new season now?
Yeah, I'm delighted to get it done. It's been a bit of a long summer, to be fair. Just waiting out for a deal to come up, just keeping myself fit. And yeah, just grateful for the opportunity that Gateshead have given me to come back here and hopefully pick up the form that I last had when I played for the club.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned obviously coming back, but how has the process been this time around in actually returning here in the first place?
It's been quite frustrating, to be fair. I say frustrating, it's been stressful. It's not been a normal summer transfer window. I think a lot of players, like myself, found it quite hard to get deals throughout this summer. And there's still boys now that are struggling to get that done. So I'm thankful that I've been given the opportunity to come back up here and work with people that I've worked with before as well. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to the first game of the season now on Saturday.
Yeah, and in sort of returning to a club as well, I suppose it generally gives a bit of an indication that it was a good spell or a good time the first time around, especially for someone like yourself who's not, I suppose, native to the area. So, I mean, how do you kind of look back on your first sort of period here when you do reflect? Obviously, given we mentioned off camera, it's quite a while ago now, really.
Yeah, I fully enjoyed my time here. I've got a lot to thank Gateshead for because they gave me my first opportunity in professional football. Coming out of university, they allowed me to come in and almost kickstart my football career again, and that gave me the platform to go on and play in the Football League. And yeah, it's always a club that I've kept an eye out for. I still follow quite a lot of the boys and their careers on social media and speak to them like outside of football as well, and helps knowing that I've got people like Louis, Tinks, Wheelo and Busted that I've worked with before as well, so it's helped me settle in.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Busted there as well. Obviously, he's in a bit of a different role to the first time you were here, but as well, I think when you first went to Port Vale, he seemed to do little bits and pieces there as well, from what I remember. So have you kind of kept in contact with him over the years, even while you've been away? Yeah,
he's probably the main reason why I've come back up here. Really, I've been speaking to him pretty much my whole career since leaving, and he's someone that I've kept in contact with. He came and worked at Port Vale for a bit under Neil Aspin. Doing his strength and conditioning stuff, but once I knew there was interest this summer, I've continued the conversations with him, and he plays a massive part in me coming up here now. Like you say, obviously playing a different role, more like Pep Watson now instead of a S&C coach, but yeah, I'm looking forward to working under him and seeing what the season has to offer.
Yeah, and you mentioned a few of the other boys there. Obviously, I mean, you mentioned Louis as well there, someone who you've played with for Team Northumbria as well. I mean, again, I mentioned off camera, he played a little further forward on the pitch back then than he does now, but he's someone who, around the place, is one of the more vocal and one of the more kind of leadership types. So I imagine you're looking forward to playing alongside him again as well.
Yeah, he's always had that about him. He's been a leader ever since I first met him at university. Really confident, knowledgeable, experienced pro now, and he's done really well over the last few years. And yeah, I'm looking forward to playing under him and working with all the other lads here as well. So it was good to get out there today as well and meet everyone for the first time. But I think knowing them people has made it a lot more comfortable and easy for me to settle in, because sometimes you can go into change rooms and not know people and whatever. But coming back here, it just had that homely kind of feeling to come back to a team that I know that has done a lot for me, and I'm looking to now do a lot for them as well and repay them this season.
And I mean, on you personally as well as a player, I suppose the first time you kind of came here, it was probably a bit of a first sort of entry into the professional senior game, really. Obviously, coming back now, you've had plenty of years in League Two in particular, a lot of experience, and so you're probably coming back here as one of the more experienced boys in the squad, really, given that it's a fairly young squad when you look on the whole. But do you feel so much different as a person, as a player, to the first time you were here?
Well, I'm obviously a lot older now, but no, I don't feel like I've changed much. If anything, the first spell at Gateshead helped me achieve everything that I have in my career. I wasn't enjoying my football, and then I've come to Gateshead and seen the professional side of things, and I think coming into that, not being in football my whole life, I didn't come into it with so much pressure and realised that there is more life to football as well. So it was a nice opportunity for me, but I've definitely come back here, like you say, with a lot more experience now, and I want to use this time to come back here and kick on again. Like, my career isn't like over at all. I want to come here to try and progress even further, and if I can do that with Gateshead and as a whole, as a team as well, it'd be ideal.
And I mean, we mentioned obviously you spent a lot of recent years in League Two for you, but in coming to the National League, which is a league you've been in before, but a bit of a different prospect probably to then, as it seems to be one of those leagues that kind of jumps on in strength every year, and the competition's that much higher each year, especially when you see teams going up into League Two and they're competing right at the top end of the league a lot of the time. But how much are you looking ahead to competing in what's a bit of a different league to what you played in a few years ago, really?
No, I'm really looking forward to it. I don't think, to be honest, there's much comparison between the National League now and probably some or most part of League Two. You can just see like most of the teams now are full time. They're really professional, and it's a really hard league to get out of. Every player or a friend that I've spoke to that's maybe been unfortunate to come down into this league through relegation or whatever, they've always said like it's a really hard league to bounce back out of, just because of the game schedules and just the work balance throughout the season as well. So it's definitely a league that I'm looking forward to coming back into play, and it's definitely not going to be too dissimilar to playing in League Two, in my opinion.
Yeah, and for you, obviously, season's starting this weekend, so a pretty quick turnaround for you. But I mean, what are you kind of looking in particular? Are you someone who sets a bit of targets for yourself, ambitions, that type of thing, or are you just kind of taking it week by week, trying to play as much as possible and seeing where it goes?
I think before I used to set targets for myself, and I'd just get disappointed if I didn't hit them targets. So the more kind of mindset that I've managed to pick up now over the last few years is just take every day as it comes, every training session, come in, work hard, don't look any further than the game in hand. So obviously it's now Bournemouth on Saturday that we're preparing for, and we're all looking forward to getting the season off to a start, and yeah, go from there, in one game at a time.
Yeah, and you mentioned that obviously you've kind of been keeping a bit of tabs on some of the boys and the club itself over social media over the past few years and things, so no doubt will have seen what's been going on last few years and the sort of culture that I suppose Mike and Busted as well have had a part in implementing. But how much now are you just looking forward to being a part of that and not just, you know, sort of looking as an outsider? Yeah,
well, like I mentioned before, it was an environment that I want to be a part of. Busted's been showing me like clips over the pre-season of like how he's got the team playing now and the environment that he's created in the team, and it's a team that I want to be a part of. I think it will benefit my game playing in a team that keeps the ball on the floor and moves the ball quickly. Obviously, being not the tallest player in the world, it's ideal for me to keep the ball on the floor, and the way the gaffer and Busted have set up this pre-season is looking really promising going into the weekend.